Hi, welcome to another dispatch. It is cloudy, rainy, cold. So I'm starting apparently each time telling you about the weather in Colorado. Anyway, but springtime. Okay. So uh one last entry, one last reading from Andrew Forge on Soutine because it's so good. And a couple of pieces from near the end of the essay. There is nothing overtly retrospective or nostalgic in Soutine's art. On the face of it, he is a realist in the French tradition, but there is no denying that his view of the natural world is colored with something very distant from the material hedonism of French art. He seems never to have painted anything as something removed from himself at a distance. Everything he paints becomes part of himself. Another way of putting it is to say that he was never able to see a thing as an inanimate object removed from the world of living things or human feelings. Rather, he endows everything with life in the most literal sense. Even a dead bird becomes a living bird dying, or dead only by the attention of a living observer. Either way, it seems to be enacting or suffering its death. A further speculation arises, one which touches on his Jewish background. Much has been written about the particular stresses that Soutine must have suffered as a result of his having broken away from an Orthodox background in order to paint. Wheeler felt that he could not atone. No, Wheeler connects his almost religious dedication to art with this stress, suggesting that Soutine felt that he could atone for his apostasy only by the most complete self-sacrifice. Sylvester has related his traditionalism and his representational virtuosity to the same stress. The thought occurs that it is possible that having made this break, he might well have searched, perhaps quite unconsciously, for a justifying attitude from within his own Jewish background with which to ennoble his activity as a painter. Such justification might have been found in the mystical teaching of the Hasidim. Hasidism, the body of Jewish belief which grew up around the teaching of Baal Shem Tov in 18th century Poland, had a considerable influence in the Pale of Settlement during the 19th century. It was pantheistic, mystical, anti-intellectual. Its teaching has most to say about man's relationship to the world. God is contained in all things and all people. There is nothing in creation which does not contain his presence. God's work is not done with. Creation is a continuing process to which man, by his attention to people and things, makes a necessary contribution. The medium of contact with God is not the law or the analytical intellect, but a relationship, an ecstatic awareness of the world as it is. Much of the content of Hasidism is contained in the work of the modern Jewish thinker Martin Buber, who has stressed the distinction between the relation to the world expressed in the words I, it, and that expressed in the words I, thou. The I-it relationship involves experience, seeing people or things as outside phenomena, contingent on other outside phenomena with characteristics that can be listed, dissected, discussed. It involves a sense of distance between subject and object. It involves a sense of I as a discrete entity. The I-thou relationship is concerned with none of these things. It is no more aware of the definable attributes of things than it is of the discrete limits of the observer. It is no more aware of the space that separates I and thou than it is of categories into which either can be fitted. It is pure relation. Buber continually illustrates what he means by referring to primitive states, to infants, or to primitive peoples. Consider the speech. I don't know if he could use that term anymore. He'd say something. I'm not sure what he'd use, but probably different than primitive. Consider the speech of primitive peoples. This is a quote. That is, of those that have a meager stock of objects and whose life is built up within a narrow circle of acts highly charged with presentness. The nuclei of this speech, words in the form of sentences and original pre-grammatical structures, which later, splitting asunder, give rise to the many various kinds of words, mostly indicate the wholeness of a relation. We say, far away. The Zulu has for that a word which means in our sentence form, there, where someone cries out, "Oh, mother, I am lost." The Fujian soars above our analytic wisdom with a 7-syllable word whose precise meaning is, they stare at one another, each waiting for the other to volunteer to do what both wish, but are not able to do. Wow. The Fujian soars above our analytic wisdom with a 7-syllabled word whose precise meaning is, they stare at one another, each waiting for the other to volunteer to do what both wish, but are not able to do. In this total situation, the persons, as expressed both in norms and pronouns, are embedded, still only in relief and without finished independence. The chief concern is not with these products of analysis and reflection, but with the true original unity, the lived relation, unquote. That's all a quote from Martin Buber. And then Forge continues. There is no doubt that Soutine's work suggests a comparable approach to the world. There is the same passionate involvement in things, the same sense that it is his attention, his state of relation, which, as it were, supports and confirms what is out there. There is mutuality in his pictures, although often enough of a violent and aggressive kind. But there is never reserve, never objectivity, never analysis. The contrast between his technical virtuosity and the quality of his vision is an interesting one. Many artists in Skogan have assumed a primitivistic technique in the pursuit of a hyper-sophisticated idea. But Soutine's case is the reverse of this. His vision is primitive, not primitivistic. It reminds us of the Fujian 7-syllable pre-grammatical word. It reminds us of the language of children who naturally make associations between appearances and emotional characteristics. Little more, maybe a little more. All right, and this is the end of Soutine. We're going to go on to something else next week. All right, One, blah, 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 blah. He's talking about painting the carcass, the beef carcass. All right. One might carry this point further by asking whether the exile, Soutine, which had removed him so finally from his earliest surroundings, had not placed him at a remove from the workings and the uses of things, a remove which could again only be bridged by an ecstatic emotional identification with things. The American painter Jack Turcotte, himself an immigrant, has commented that Soutine never had an opportunity to exorcise his childhood. He contrasts his deprivation with Cézanne's commanding return to Provence. And indeed, there is a terrible poignancy in Soutine's closeness to the things he paints, his identification with them. He seems to cling to them, to bury himself in them. Everything that he paints is like a close-up, not only because he eliminates the space that separates him from the object, but because of the extreme plasticity of the image that he makes of it. Look at the page boy at Maxim's. Maybe I'll put that in the email. The boy cut off just below the hips, elbows out, crams the canvas. He jerks forward, jostles us. He can be closer, yet his arms are like jug handles. The gaps that they make would take our fingers. The gaps that they make would take our fingers. We could pick him up. He can come closer yet. Features are like momentary grimaces. There is an invitation to mimic the pursing of his lips. The head is not like any head we have seen, but it is terribly like a head that we know, our own. We know other people's heads by their symmetry. Symmetry is an external quality that separates itself from whatever is not symmetrical. We know our own head by the action of its parts, an eye rubbed, a lip bitten, a corner of the brow cutting into the supporting hand. None of this adds up to likeness, nor to a discrete form with proportions or characteristic symmetry. But it is us, the theater of our awareness. The page boy's face is both profile and head-on. His left eye and brow agree with the hook of his nose. His right eye agrees with his brow. Far from fragmenting the head, this twist suggests a more inclusive whole within which we seem ourselves to be mysteriously included. But he can come even closer. We cannot conceptualize the figure or detach it from the terms in which it is presented to us. Look at the arm at our right. Is the arm a form which stands over against the background, or is it created by the background? Is it an arm which has led to paint being put in a certain place, or is it something that has happened out of the paint? The ground nibbles at the arm, cutting into it, destroying its expected armness. Neither arm nor ground takes precedence. What dominates is the paint, which we feel as something active, both as matter and as gesture, as color and as paste. There is no point at which we can unravel the process which led from page boy to the artist's hand and eye to the canvas. All distances have been eliminated. That's it. It's good. Can we paint like that today? Who's painting like that today? What does that mean to paint like that today? Okay. That's it. That's what I got. I hope you're all well. I hope you're making stuff. I hope I'm making stuff. I gotta make stuff. I do. All right. Take care, everyone. Be well.